Alright guys, it's Sunday, and I got some time to work on the 347 stroker that you guys have seen me talk about. So I got the cylinder heads on there, just kind of mocked up. I put a few studs to hold it, even though the dowel pins are there. Got to use the thread sealant on the bottom threads as they go into the coolant passages to seal it. I got this from work. My boss was cool enough to let me use it. Not a big deal. Nice of him. Saves me a couple bucks. And so once I get the heads torqued into place, which I might add, use the correct lubricant for the fasteners. These are ARP head studs. I use the ARP Ultra Torque Lube. They factor in their torque ratings with this stuff. So use this stuff. And then once that's done, I'm going to go ahead and put the intake on. And then I'm going to go ahead and mock up the timing chain cover and oil pan, make sure that's going to line up. And then if I got time, I'll take care of it. If not, then I'll do it during the week. So this thing's really going to start looking more and more like an engine here pretty soon. And I know that I mentioned to you guys that there was a port misalignment between the intake and the cylinder heads. Once I pop the gaskets in there, we're going to see how really off it is, because the gaskets are going to raise it ever so slightly. But it's something that, you know, I talked about it, and we're not going to take care of it because we're just going to put this engine together to get it running. You know, as far as the bottom end stuff, it's been checked out. This engine is going to get sold at a price that somebody is not going to be afraid to dig into it because they're going to think they're going to be upside down. No, my buddy's going to price it just right, and it should be a pretty appealing price. And the goal is to sell this engine as a complete runner. So I'm going to go ahead and get a distributor for it, some roller rocker arms. You know, we're not going to go over the top on brands and stuff. We're just going to get like some Pro Comp rocker arms, which is actually the same kind of rocker arms that's on the olds, the stainless ones. I've been running them and flogging them for a long time, and they've held up really good. So we're going to go ahead and run that because we've had a good experience with that. And then, you know, get this thing fired up. This thing should be a beast. I think for the what's here, this engine should be able to easily probably put like a Fox body Mustang well into the low 12s, high 11s. This thing's got a solid roller cam. It's going to end up being at 10.5 to 1 compression ratio. You know, and it's got aluminum heads, so you can run it on pump gas. So this thing's going to be a really nice piece. I can't wait to hear this thing on the stand. There's going to be a delay before we get it there. The parts that I have to buy are going to take me some time to get. So once this thing's really put together, there's going to be some final pieces, and it's going to take me a little while with the holidays coming up and everything. So, but at least we're getting it there, and we're getting it to the point where we can set it off to the side and later revisit that when we're ready. And then, you know, I can attack the Turbo 350 build. I got my heater on. I've been out here all weekend, so I'm trying to keep it warm before I start anything. You guys really, if you work in your garage in the winter, before you start using sealants or anything, try to get it up to temperature. And you got to be careful, because if you're using a heater like this, stuff will perspirate and sweat. So you got to make sure that your stuff is set up just right. Otherwise, seals aren't going to seal up. And I've learned this over the years working in the winter here. So I'm going to let you guys go. I'm going to get to it. I'll follow it up and show you things here and there. All right, guys. So I got the studs all in place. I got my washers in there. As you can see, I put a dab of the fastener assembly lube on every single stud so that as it draws in, it brings it in with it. And so just an odd little piece here. So these came with the cylinder heads. And the reason I know that is because this bag isn't labeled. ARP labels every single little bag they give you. It's got a part number. So these are like alignment washers for the cylinder heads. I assume these are for bolts or stock style fasteners. And even if I wanted to use these, I couldn't, because the bores on the openings of the head bolts aren't exactly true. So the cylinder heads on the dowels, you know, it won't slide back and forth. So there is no way these will even work, because on some of these, they would go in, didn't go in on this one, didn't go in on that one, it went in the back one. So if you can even shift the head to get them to fit somewhere else, There's no way you make them work. And even if you did make them work by boring them out, it renders it completely useless because it no longer locates it off of the collar, because now it can move around if you bore it out. So the dowels are in place. The cylinder heads are lined up. We got our ARP washers that were bagged and tagged. So let me show you guys. Let me put these in this mystery bag. This is what I'm talking about. This is where the washers came in. There's a part number for them. So usually when you buy bolts from ARP, they usually come like this. So that's why I knew they had to have come with the cylinder heads. So, but we're good. I got the studs in there, everything. And then, just wanted to show you guys what the snot looks like. Let me grab, if I can make sense of where I am in life. So, for instance, I'm just going to shove this in here upside down and just kind of thread it lightly into where the rocker arm would go for instructional purposes. And since I am working with one hand here, you're going to have to bear with me. This is your sealant. And then usually what I do is I'll run it vertically on like half of the diameter of the bolt. And then as it draws it in, it'll push it into the threads as you screw it. So this will go in here. You guys like my snot catch pan, the oil pan from the olds? They got those fancy plastic trays, but chances are you always got an oil pan lying around. The oil pan can become the catch can. So, little haha moment there. Let you guys go. All right, guys, so I got the cylinder heads all torqued down on each side. If you guys are unfamiliar with ARP fasteners, usually, for the most part, they want you to do everything in about 3 equal increments. So for us, we couldn't really do exactly half because my torque wrench, which I have a beam type, only goes down to 40. So what I did was 40, 60, then 80. Close enough. So usually want to do 3 equal increments, which I think for 80, let's see, so 25 times 3 is 75. It would be like 27.35 or something like that. You'd end up doing like 28, so we only went up a little bit to accommodate our torque wrench. I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's not a big deal. The whole point is to equally get everything seated. So same deal with the ARP head bolts that I have on my engine. Did in the same way because my torque wrench can only go so low unless you use a 3/8 and I use a 1/2 inch. And the other suggestion I was going to tell you guys, if you have to use an extension, keep it as short as possible. That will change your torque values a little bit. With like torsional, it will twist slightly. I could have used a longer socket, but I didn't have a longer 1/2 inch 5/8 socket here, so I just used the tiniest extension I could use on there. So moving on to the intake here. All right, guys, I wish I could say that I was going to have the manifold on, but no intake gaskets, which I could run out to the local O'Reilly's right now, but I was just there earlier. I probably should have checked. They have them in stock. A lot of the O'Reilly's stock general performance parts, so like carburetor kits, intake manifold gaskets, exhaust manifold gaskets, header gaskets. They stock a lot of little stuff like that in their one little high performance area. So whenever I go into a parts store, I kind of always check what they got because they usually restock the same stuff. So I need intake gaskets. But our cylinder heads are torqued in, and my tip to you guys, if you mock up parts, leave them loose enough for you to think. Don't leave them tight enough for you to think that they're in there because you can get confused over time. So these are the adjustable guide plates I was telling you guys about. They're really nice. You can spread them apart. If you need to move them, just like that. Ball hairs. So, my fucking voice broke up there. You can see they're kind of lined up. There, you can actually see the plunger on the roller lifter. Right there. Well, not really a plunger at this point. It's a solid lifter, but it's the top cup of it. And their studs are just barely hand tight, so that way we know that these are definitely loose. There is no confusing, you know. So, with that being said, I got the oil pan on, the timing cover on. I also need a timing cover gasket. I could have sworn it was in here somewhere. Don't know where the fuck it went. Either way, does not matter. So, I need a timing cover gasket. I got the nice rubber one-piece oil pan gasket. This pan has been modified in the past by whoever had it before. It's a rear pickup. It still has, obviously, the front sump for the oil. Because the oil pump. Because obviously, if you guys know Fords, the oil pump is in the front along with the distributor, at least on the Windsor engines. And the so there, you know, oil has to find its way places. And this oil pan is a rear pickup, which is fine. They sell them, but it's been modified on the side for something here. There's a spacer for it, and I'm gonna guess that's for the pan depth. I have to check all that stuff because the pickup has to be far enough into the oil pan, and the pickup runs from the front to the rear. And I'm going to show you guys that because this is important to check, because if you hold 7 quarts, but your pickup is only at a level where you're only getting 2 quarts, guess what? This thing's going to be running dry. So I got a nice valve cover gasket there. So here's the pickup. It runs from the front to the rear. You can see there's a center support that goes into probably one of the main studs where I'll probably end up using a thin nut on there, Loctite it in place. I have to clean this pickup tube up. It's pretty new though. No shit on it. I kind of hate these because they're not completely exposed like some of the other pickups. Like I know I have a Kenny Bell style oiling system on my olds, and the pickup is completely open. But you really, if you try to modify this, you run the risk of getting metal shavings in the tube that you possibly won't see or get out. Even on a microscopic area, like, you know, on a microscopic level, you don't want to run the risk of doing any of that. So for the sake of running what we got, this is a Mylodon pickup. We got it. And we got a Ford high-performance oil pump, which I may have to clearance this rib right here to clearance the girdle that it has. So we're hitting the part of the build where we have to start to, and again, it's important to mock up this stuff before you start bolting stuff up, because if you got like a oil pump gasket or something that needs to be ran, like on this Ford, these Fords do run a little gasket on the oil pump. I don't know if some leave it out. I know on the Oldsmobile it's a surface seal. There's no gasket there. But on every Ford I've ever put together, there's a little gasket there. And so I need to run 2 because this has an extension for the pump. Where is it? Right here. So it's got a little extension that has been made, not completely finished. I'll probably finish it up at work. I didn't make this. My buddy started on it. And you could see where he started to cut to shape this thing out. But either way, that's where I'm at with this. The timing cover is correct. The oil pan sits on there pretty flat. I got it just lightly bolted into place. The cylinder heads are in place, but we kind of hit another little spot. But it's fine. I got all winter to build this, and I really want to have this thing done maybe sometime in end of January, ideally. That way I can trickle out the cost of the stuff that I gotta garbage that I gotta buy, so I can trickle that stuff out. But so far so good, and then you know, I'll keep you guys posted. So I think for now this is probably going to sit until towards the end of the week, where I know if I have a little extra money or not. There's always inherent costs that pop up here and there throughout the week for me. You know, my wife might want something different for dinner, and I got to go pick something up, random stuff like that. So I really won't know until sometime Wednesday night if I can order the gaskets and stuff I need. So, whoo, I'm tired. So I'll let you guys go. I hope you guys are enjoying this. I'm actually kind of really enjoying this build. It's got a lot of really nice parts. And really, this thing's going to sound wicked. So I already had the engine upside down. None of these fell out. You can see some of the oil right on the outside. Because I had it upside down, whatever oil assembly lubes and stuff was hanging throughout. And I probably didn't drive this one down. There's no one of these things is not like the other. So that one's definitely loose. But yeah, we're moving along here. We're plugging along. And we're getting close. Close. But yeah, we're hopefully January sometime this thing will be ready to fire up. But it'll probably sit before we actually fire it up because we're going to need a couple of items still. So we'll let you guys go. Share, like, subscribe. I won't keep boring you with my fucking mindless rambling. But that's what we ran into today. And we'll see you. Share, like, subscribe. If you haven't hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Share. If you want to follow me on Instagram, you can follow me at Copper Cutlass. It's about the extent of social media I do. Facebook is a fuck off. I don't really do a whole lot there. So we'll let you guys go.